The last two seasons, the Buffalo Bills have done a great job turning their fifth-round draft picks into productive Buffalo Bills assets. Did we do the same thing here in the 2019 NFL Draft? Let's find out. Welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to another episode of NFL Buffalo Bills Draft Breakdown, where we break down every single one of the 2019 NFL Buffalo Bills draft picks, and we're going to continue that today with our fifth-round draft pick, Vosean Joseph, linebacker out of Florida. Before we do that, however, I want to remind everyone, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, be sure to hit that subscribe button as we have you covered for all Buffalo Bills news, whether it be free agency, whether it be the draft, coming up on camps, preseason, regular season. We have you covered through all of it and beyond. So again, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, let you know when we go live, and then like this video, leave a comment. What do you think about linebacker Vosean Joseph? I personally think this is probably the best value pick of the NFL draft for the Buffalo Bills. You're talking about fifth round, 157th overall, 2019 NFL draft pick, Vosean Joseph, linebacker out of Florida. So Vosean Joseph sits at 6'1", 230 pounds. A lot of people say that's a little too small to play linebacker, but if you remember, even though he's a little bit smaller than this guy, they were saying the same thing about Matt Milano 2 seasons ago, and where did we get him? In the fifth round. A lot of similarities between Matt Milano and Vosean Joseph as far as where we picked them up, the type of speed they have, athleticism. This guy's very athletic and a hard hitter. That's what I like about him. He's a hard-hitting linebacker who knows how to play special teams, which is also very good because he might have to play special teams if he wants to find a spot on this roster. So, Vosean Joseph stayed in the state of Florida because he is originally from Miami, Florida. Went to Norland High School to begin when he was in high school in Miami. And he was a first-team All-State his senior year in high school. So, very highly touted coming out of high school. Wanted to get out of the Miami area, but didn't want to go too far. So, where does he go? He goes a little up north to Gatorville and plays as a Florida Gator. So, as a Florida Gator, his freshman year, he plays in 13 games, only one of them as a starter, plays all 13 games on special teams. So like I said, he knows how to play special teams. And when you're an aggressive, hard-hitting guy, that's awesome. That's something that you want to do. Again, it's going to get your foot in the door. It's going to make you a little bit more likely to get on the team. Again, we all know the Buffalo Bills have great talent. Going to be some tough roster cuts. Some guys that might deserve to be on a team might not make this team because there's going to be some hard cuts coming up at the end of the preseason, and we'll have you covered right here. We'll get into that more when that time comes. But Vosean Joseph, again, fifth-round pick, his freshman year at Florida, played 13 games, 12 of them strictly at special teams. That one start, of course, as well at linebacker. And then he started 10 out of 11 games his sophomore season in 2017, had 55 sacks, 55 tackles, 4 for a loss, and 1 interception. And then last season, his junior year, started 11 of 13 games, played in 13, started 11 of those games, 93 tackles, led the Florida Gators in tackles with 93 tackles, 9 of them for a loss, 4 sacks, and 5 pass deflections. So great job, again, leading the Florida Gators in tackles last season. And again, if you watch this guy's film, shows patience at linebacker position. There are a couple times I was watching the film breakdown, right, and you see a player, especially if you watch the game against LSU last season, you see a couple times where the offensive lineman sees Vosean Joseph just standing there, so he turns one way or the other, and boom, that's when Vosean Joseph strikes. And he's fast, he's quick, and that's what I like about him. He gets to the hole quickly, so he sees a hole, or his closing speed, right? We see some running plays, some stretch plays, where you see the running back going to the left or right, and you see Vosean Joseph closing on that running back. Again, when you're smaller, only 200-some pounds, 230 pounds, you can do that kind of thing. You have, the ability to do that kind of thing, faster closing speeds. Again, we talk about a linebacking core that is pretty young, right? Talk about last year getting Tremaine Edmonds as that core centerpiece, right? Our middle linebacker. 2 years ago, Matt Milano, again, everyone said he was a smaller guy. He was a fifth-round pick. And what happens, midway through the season, He's our starting linebacker. And then we also have Lorenzo Alexander, the savvy veteran who we all love. Last season was a great year for Lorenzo Alexander. We hope for the same production this year. But we know that he only has 1 year on his contract as well. He only signed a 1-year contract. So who is going to take his spot maybe when he decides to retire? And that could be a perfect spot for Vosean Joseph. Perfect guy to learn from, Lorenzo Alexander, and he can just fill in then after Lorenzo Alexander decides to retire or throw him up or whatever you want to call it. So Vosean Joseph also would be a good depth player. Again, played a lot of special teams his first year. He's not afraid to play special teams, not afraid to play as a backup role either. So that's good to know. And then again, for the draft value, you're talking about 5th round pick overall, some great value there. Has that 1 interception, so we know, and 5 pass deflections last season, so he knows how to get his hands up, get his hands on the ball. Again, this guy seems to find himself around the ball all the time. Again, a big knock on him is that he's just the size, right? 230, a little bit smaller than a lot of linebackers today in the NFL, but with a quicker game. You talk about a guy who can cover a tight end downfield, right? Who can run with a tight end. That is very important, especially in a game like today where it's a passing league. So you're not worried so much about having beef in the front. That's what the defensive tackles, defensive ends are for. That's why we got Ed Oliver now, baby. You want a guy who can run with some wide receivers in the slot, run with the tight ends, and do some things that maybe some other linebackers can't do. We know that, we saw Tremaine Edmonds last year struggle in coverage. That's a tough thing sometimes for linebackers. So if we can get a guy who can do well in coverage, that could only help the Buffalo Bills defense. Again, this defense ranked number 2 overall, number 1 in the past last season, and we need a guy who could tackle because we ranked 16th in the league in run defense last year. Guy who can hit the holes quickly on the defensive side now, hit the holes quickly, clog them up, either make the tackle or let someone else get there to make the tackle. Let's talk about some of his strengths. Now again, according to NFL.com, Vosean Joseph was supposed to be a 3rd or 4th round draft pick. We get a steal here in the 5th round. Again, very explosive, very athletic, downhill trigger. So, he's always running downhill. And again, that's what helps him get that power for those big hits. He has a lot of aggression. He plays with a lot of aggression here, and again, that's what I'm talking about. A guy with a little dog in him, as they say. Just someone who's willing to put up a little fight. Someone who's not happy with where he's at. Always trying to move forward. Always trying to get better. That's what we want to do. He can be he's shown flashes that he can be an impact blitzer. Again, last season we talked about 4 sacks, so he constantly improves in that number as well. So some scouts, I saw this on NFL.com. A certain scout said, right now he's at 5. But if you give us time with him, he can become a 9. That's the kind of guy we're talking about here. A guy, again, a 5 and a 5th round pick, but someone who's a pretty average player, who might be a little raw still, who has some learning to do, who has made mistakes, who has made some misreads, who is a little too patient sometimes and doesn't hit the hole quick enough. But a guy who you can give the right coaching to can become a much better player, and that's the kind of guy we got here in the 5th round. So again, some of his weaknesses is he doesn't see the whole field, right? He's looking, he sees a spot, falls for that fake handoff a lot. So if you watch film on him, you'll see him fall for the play action a lot. He'll bite. He normally is quick to recover. That's the good thing about his athleticism, but he will bite on that play action play. So we have to watch that. We have to get him out of those situations. He also finds himself running himself into blocks, if that makes sense. So what he'll do is he won't run necessarily at the player, but he'll run towards a blocker, and you want the guy to run towards the player with the ball. So you want him to make sure that he's doing that. Sometimes it's good to take the block away for the next guy, but sometimes you got to go after the ball carrier and not worry about the blockers in front. If there's a block in front, he'll get you. But you just need to make sure that you are going after the ball carrier. Technique and balance need correcting as tackler. We saw a few years ago, Pittsburgh linebacker, I forget his name off the top of my head. You guys will remind me in the comment section. Segier, right? Goes for a tackle, lowers his head, gets hit, paralyzed, right? Now, luckily, that's been a great story recently. He was dancing at his wedding just a few weeks ago, so great for him. He wants to come back and play football. We all think that's crazy, but who's to stop him, right? So you need to be able to make good form tackles, and that's a perfect example of what might happen if you don't. So make sure you get your head up, shoulders down, make that good 3-point stance and drive into a tackle. He's a hard hitter, but he needs to wrap up and be able to make those good sound tackles when necessary. I'd rather you tackle someone, wrap them up, and it be this light tackle than make a popping hit, but then the offensive player stand on his feet and then run for a couple more yards. That's not what we need. We need a guy to make the tackle at the point of contact. So again, maybe a project tier, 5th round pick, but we have our linebacking core pretty set for this year, right? I'm just going to add depth, add some special teams play here, and then maybe next year, after a year behind Lorenzo Alexander, watching how it's done, some good coaching, which we know we have good defensive coaches, right? We have Sean McDermott. Coach McDermott was a defensive coordinator. Leslie Frazier has been a defensive coordinator, and because of how good of a defensive coordinator he is, he's had that opportunity to be a head coach a couple times, right? So we know how good of a defensive coordinator he is. Again, we had the 2nd-ranked defense last season, #1 pass defense. These guys know what they're doing, and they might do it here. Again, this is one of my favorite picks of the draft. I feel like this was the best draft value pick that the Bills had this season in the NFL draft. Let me know if you agree with that or not. Let me know if you think maybe Cody Ford was a little bit better of a grab where we grabbed him, or maybe you had another name in mind. But I do believe Vosean Joseph is the best value pick for the Buffalo Bills this year in the NFL draft. Again, a good hard-hitting linebacker. Love that. And we hope that he continues to do that. A few things that we can work on, but he'll do good in Buffalo. I trust our coaching staff. Again, 6'1", 203 pounds, athletic freak from Florida, Vosean Joseph. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Did you like this pick? I like this pick. I think he will do great things for the Buffalo Bills. But let me know in the comment section what you think. Like this video, and then, of course, leave a comment and subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, guys, what are you doing? We keep you updated, not just on the Buffalo Bills, but on all Buffalo sports. So you want to hit that subscribe button, and we'll keep you up to date as we try to figure out who the Buffalo Bills might have to cut to make that 53-man roster. Thank you for joining me on Believers Talk. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.